Well, Eric summed up the night pretty well here. NBA DFS is so incredibly painful, man. Two best plays of the slate, and I agree. Bruce Brown, injured right away. Massive blowout. Naz Reid, two quick ones. Massive blowout. Doesn't even touch the court in the second half. It's a painful game that we play. It's a very, very painful game that we play, guys. But all I can say is, thankfully, the Sumner Slappies were punished, right? 50+% off the bench, people fall asleep at the wheel, and they finally don't get rewarded. But yeah, I didn't cash tonight. My favorite tournament play of the slate was Nikola Vucevic. He absolutely smashed, but I played, it was so dumb because I was looking everywhere for Ben Simmons news, right? Is Ben Simmons on a limit? Is Ben Simmons on a limit? I'm asking beat writers, nothing. I rolled the dice on Ben Simmons, plays 20 minutes. It's just tell us he's on a limit, man. I was really upset about that. I just don't understand how we don't get that news, right? How do we not get that? So, yeah, hit on low on Vooch, who absolutely broke the slate, but just didn't matter. Because I had Ben Simmons in my lineup. So that was a little bit frustrating for sure. But that's kind of the recap of everything. Prize picks, looking like I'm going to go 4 for 5 on Patreon, or 4 and 1 overall. So looking good there. Did miss both the YouTube picks. We'll recap that in my prize picks video. But got a bit unlucky, definitely with the Booker one. He played 24 minutes and had 6 assists. So I don't regret that play whatsoever. But yeah. That is that. As you guys know, most nights will end in severe pain in NBA DFS. And once again, it did tonight for myself. But yeah, I mentioned Prize Picks, so they are the sponsor. If you are a first-time user, you can use the code DKDFS for 100% match up to $100. I have daily videos also talking about some picks that I like. So again, link is down below. Take advantage of that free money, though. 100% match up to $100. Free $100 to play with on the site if you do use my code. Okay, so let's start with Detroit and Cleveland. So on the Detroit side, it's a really tough matchup. There's nothing that really stands out to me here. I think any of these main 7 guys are playable contrarian plays, but I'm not going to go out of my way to play any of these guys. Bogdanovic should see mid-30s minutes if the game stays competitive. That's kind of a big if against this Cleveland team. Cleveland's solid. Sadiq Bey most likely sees around 30 minutes. He's been playing relatively well of late. Ivy should see high 20s minutes. Stewart and Duran should see 28 to 30 minutes each. Killian Hayes played a lot more last game because Alec Burks barely played. I think Burks still has a bit of foul trouble and just struggled shooting the ball. So there's nothing here. If you want to use one of these guys as last man in, contrarian play, you can in your lineup. But yeah, there's nothing I'm looking to really on the Pistons side. Now on the Cavs side, I like the main 4 guys: Mitchell, Garland, Mobley, and Allen. Mitchell still feels too cheap to me. It was super, super tilting the last slate. I had his over 38.5 fantasy score. Was easily going to hit. Massive blowout, right? Oh, and one other thing, too. Guys, people are always it's blowouts happen all the time. It's okay, if you want to say that a blower, that wasn't random. Again, these are the rules in the channel. If you want to say that a blowout was not random, produce your ticket. Show me the ticket, right? Produce your ticket, your spread ticket. So the last game I was tilting, I forget what the blowout was, but it was a 3-point spread. So I'm oh, that wasn't random. Okay, produce your ticket. If you can produce a ticket, then that's fine. Then I'll allow it. Then I'll allow it that you can say it's not random. You cannot say that if you do not have your ticket, right? And those are the rules. So, you have the ticket, the spread ticket, okay. You can say whatever you want. If you cannot produce a ticket and the game's a 2 to 3, 4-point spread and the game blows out, you cannot say it's random. Those are just the rules. I didn't make them. Those are the rules. All right, but yeah, so that again, that really tilts me. I missed by like a couple points of Mitchell that last game, but I think Mitchell, Garland, Mobley, Allen all look relatively good. Again, I like the matchup. The only concern is, can the Pistons keep this game competitive? LeVert will play off the bench, should see mid-20s minutes. Rubio, I don't hate as a punt play. I think we see around 20 minutes from him. With LeVert back, Chetty doesn't see as much run, so probably can't go to him. Okoro's been playing well for what it's worth. He's relatively cheap. If you want to play Okoro, okay. He's been shooting really well, though. 5 of 5, 7 of 9, and 4 of 6 over the last 3 games. Like, I don't think we can continue to expect Okoro to shoot like 80% from the field, so I would be a little bit careful. Charlotte, Washington. So this game looks pretty appealing to me. I like LaMelo Ball in both formats at 10.1. He's going to play close to 40 minutes in a competitive game. He's their clear go-to guy, and he has a very high floor, high ceiling because he just stuffs the stat sheet. So I like LaMelo a good amount. Rozier at 7.7, more of your contrarian play. He's a fine pivot off LaMelo Ball. I think LaMelo Ball will be relatively popular tomorrow. And if you wanted to go to a lower-owned Rozier, I think that's okay. Maybe LaMelo gets in foul trouble, which he is prone to foul trouble. So possible LaMelo could lose some minutes due to foul trouble. The front court and Plumlee and Washington are kind of just fine. I think I'd slightly prefer Plumlee to Washington, but neither of those guys are priorities. I'll mention Gordon Hayward. He got his minutes restriction lifted finally last game, played 31 minutes. Was awful, 1 for 10 fantasy points. But a sub 5K Gordon Hayward that should play low 30s minutes against Washington, like that is a little bit appealing to me. Dennis Smith Jr. will play the backup point guard. He's 3.6. He's fine. We'll probably find better value, though. If you want to mess with the backup center, that's fine. I remember everyone was saying, "Oh, it's always Mark Williams. It's always Mark Williams, bro." Oh, really? It was Nick Richards 2 games ago. That's what I was saying. Why couldn't it have been Nick Richards like 3 games ago when everyone played chalk Mark Williams off the bench? It was, I was just so frustrated about that. But yeah, everyone told, this is Mark Williams' shop. Nick Richards literally played the backup 5 2 games ago. So no, that is incorrect. All right, Washington, Kuzma and Beal. This is huge news, right? If they're both out, I really like Porzingis at 9.6. Should be able to feast against the Charlotte Hornets front court. And then just kind of everyone else looks better. I don't care what happened last game. They got massively blown out, but Denny and Gafford should play more. The group of guards of Morris, DeLon Wright, and Kendrick Nunn should all play more. Four. If Kuzma and Beal are both in, I think it would mainly be the top end guys. I mean, I think you could still have a little bit of Anderson Denny, a little bit of Anderson Gafford, but I think I'd be mainly looking to Kuzma and Beal. Then I'd want to see if there's any sort of a limit on either of them. Philadelphia, Boston. Embiid's been questionable for 27 straight games. He's going to play. I think Embiid and Harden are fine GBP plays. I wouldn't call either priorities, and there's really no one else I'm looking to. I guess 5.6K for Tobias Harris is relatively cheap for him. Maxey been playing off the bench, but the minutes haven't been amazing on him. He's been very up and down. Melton starting, but like minutes usually only like low 20s. There's just not much here for me. On the Boston side, so you got Jaylen Brown back. Marcus Smart is still out. And Robert Williams is probable. So not much here on the Boston side either. If you want to get to Tatum or Brown as contrarian play, that's doable. Derek White hit a massive game last game, but now Jaylen Brown's back. So both White and Brogdon feel a little pricey. I mean, Rob Williams, if he can stay out of foul trouble, I like his ceiling, but assuming Embiid plays, which I think he does, there's obviously some foul risk. I don't think we can get to Sam Hauser, who did not play the previous game and then played 31 minutes. So, yeah, that's kind of it for Boston. Indiana, Miami, tough spot here for the Pacers. Not a ton that really stands out to me. Alberton, Turner, Buddy Hield. You want to look to those guys as one-off contrarian plays in tournaments, be my guest, but price points plus matchup, kind of hard to go there. Naismith, we talk about this too. When no one plays on the early slate, he finally comes back down to earth. But when the slappies chase, he can't miss from 3. It's just like so typical. No one plays the early slate and he busts. Goes for 8 fans. Like that couldn't have happened when he was extremely overowned back-to-back main slates. No. So like, mad about that. Daniel Tyson seeing the backup 5 run. I don't think it's necessary, but did want to mention that. Miami. So here's the thing with Miami. They're really shorthanded. Gabe Vincent expected to play. No Oladipo, no Lowry. So the starting lineup should be Vincent, Hero, Jimmy, Martin, Bam. That's a starting 5. You're going to see Strus play pretty big minutes off the bench. That's 6. You're going to see Highsmith play some minutes on the bench at 7. And you're going to see one of like Haslam or Jamal Cain or like whoever, or I guess Orlando Robinson. So Orlando Robinson will probably play the backup 5, and that'll be 8. So I think they're going on an 8-man rotation. I don't think we're going to see Haslam or Jamal Cain touch the court. So you're just going to see a lot of minutes for the main guys if the game can stay competitive. So I think all 3 of Jimmy, Bam, and Hero are solid options. Bam pushing 9K, don't love the price point on him. 8.1K for Jimmy, though, feels like a decent price, and 7.5 for Hero I'm still fine with as well. I think my favorite play would be Gabe Vincent, though, assuming he continues to start. He shot really bad last game, but does have the shooting guard eligibility. Should play 30-plus minutes. I like him a good amount. Martin at 4.8. I mean, he'll play probably around 30 minutes. He's fine, too. And then Max Strus should play solid minutes off the bench, play 24 off the bench. He's relatively scoring dependent, but is cheap and does have that nice eligibility with the shooting guard small forward. San Antonio, Toronto kind of comes down to Keldon Johnson and Trey Jones for me. They're both questionable. If they're both in, I don't think there's a ton that stands out to me. If they're both out, then we should get the similar starting lineup for the Spurs of Richardson at the point, Branham at the 2. Keldon, if he plays, would be at the 3, then Bates Diop, then Pirtle. If Keldon's out, I don't know, they'll probably start one of like McDermott or Stanley Johnson there. So we'll see. Like the Spurs could be relatively short-handed if both those guys are out. But yeah, so if they're both in, I think Keldon, Trey Jones, Pirtle would probably be the main guys I'd look to. I guess Bates Diop would be fine, assuming he continues to start. But yeah, if they're both out, then things change a bit. Then I think Richardson at 5'6" is a reasonable play. He should play 30-plus minutes as the point guard. Branham is blowout-proof. He'll play either way. Jakob Poeltl, does have a ceiling, a little revenge game narrative, played 30 minutes last game. So there would be some interesting plays here on the Spurs if all those guys are out. Collins played the backup 5. The Giga Chalk Stanley Johnson slappies were punished. That made no sense to me last slate. So thankfully, they did not get rewarded. But yeah, let's move on to Toronto. So Toronto, I like the spot for them, but I don't love the price points. 9.4 for Siakam, 9.1 for Van Fleet, and 8K for Scotty Barnes. Like the positives, they're going to play a ton, but I don't love the price points on any of these guys. Gary Trent Jr. is still reasonably priced at 6.1, but he can still hurt you like last game if he does not make his shots. He has a relatively low floor. Achua, pretty safe, should play around 30 minutes. He's fine. My boy Boucher has been playing pretty consistent minutes. Good point per minute guy. I think he sees on average low 20s minutes. He's probably my favorite play on Toronto. All right, Sacramento and Houston. So another game that this game has shootout potential. 2 teams that play fast, very little defense. It's a matter of can this game stay competitive. I like the ceiling on Sabonis. I like the ceiling on Fox. If you're going to make me pick between the two, I give the edge to Sabonis at 10.3 over Fox at 9K. But both are decent plays. Barnes, Murray, Herter, all reasonably priced in the mid-range. No standouts, though. Malik Monk feels a little bit pricey with Fox back. Not saying you can't play him, but I don't love the price point there. And that's kind of it. I mean, Trey Lyles will see rotation minutes. Davion Mitchell will see rotation minutes. Terrence Davis might see a little bit of run, but I would say mainly the top guys I'm looking to. On the Houston side, so my boy Şengün been a little bit quiet of late. Did play 36 minutes last game, though, and the game blew out, so he would have put a little bit more. Almost had a triple-double, one for 15, 7, and 7. I like him as a GPP play. We'll see what the ownership comes in on him. I don't think he'll be super popular. And then Jalen Green, it tilted me to start the game. He shot like 1 of 8 in the first quarter. I was super, super tilted because he was my favorite GPP play of the slate last slate. And it was looking like he just couldn't hit a shot. But thankfully, he ended up smashing, even in the blowout. I think he's going to play 35-plus minutes. His floor plus ceiling do go up a bit when he plays the point guard, but he can still hurt you. He can still hurt you if he struggles with the shot. The rest of Houston, Martin, Gordon, Jabari Smith are the other starters. They all kind of just feel like priced right. If you want to go to those guys as the last man in, that's fine, but like there's no standouts there. I don't really think I get to anyone off the bench. My boy Eason feels too pricey. Jayshawn Tate is 3.9. He'll play around 20 minutes. I'd say mainly it's Green and Şengün. All right, Minnesota, Utah, so just so frustrating. Minnesota just loses by 70 tonight. This game should stay competitive, though. Ant, D'Lo got ejected last game, too. They should play close to 40 minutes. I think both are solid GPP plays. Gobert is 6'7", little revenge spot against his former team. I kind of like the price point on Gobert. That's scary to say, though. Now, Naz Reid started the first half. He did not start the second half, so we'll see. Taurean Prince started the second half. I think Prince benefits the most with Slow-Mo out. So 3.3K Taurean Prince if Slow-Mo's out again, I think makes her pretty good value. McDaniels is fine. If they start Naz Reid again, you can go to him for sure. But A little bit uneasy about his minutes. Noel is always playable in tournaments too. On the Utah side, Vanderbilt status is up in the air. He is questionable. Markkanen's 9-3. He's playable in tournaments. I don't love the price point. Clarkson and Conley, I think, are your safest bets. You should get around 30 minutes for both. Clarkson been consistently giving you around 30 fantasy points. Kind of the same thing with Mike Conley. So I think both guards are pretty safe here. Walker Kessler's kind of been up and down, but the ceiling is there for him. Minutes kind of been up and down as well. Olynyk, if there's no Vanderbilt, I'm fine playing him. He played 28 minutes last game. Reasonable value. Beasley and Sexton will see rotation minutes too. They're both fine GPP plays. Dallas and the Clippers. This one's kind of tough to talk about for Dallas. I just don't know what's going to happen in this rotation. Luka's still out. Kyrie Irving is expected to play. I don't know if he's going to play full minutes, though. Christian Wood only played 19 minutes in his first game back. This is a really hard team to break down. It's just going to come down to news for me. If there's like no limit at Kyrie Irving, then I'm okay playing him in tournaments at 10.6K, but I don't know what this Dallas team's going to look like now. I don't know how many minutes Christian Wood can play. Hardaway feels a bit pricey. Josh Green had a big game last game, but again, now you have Kyrie back. I think Christian Wood plays a bit more. It's hard for me to feel confident with anyone. If you feel like really good about one of these guys, I would say go for it. But right now, I think Dallas kind of a stay away for me. On the Clippers side, they're going to run a relatively tight rotation, but there's no real standouts. Kawhi, Paul George, both fine contrarian plays. Powell should see around 30 minutes on the bench, like his upside in tournaments. Zubac always in play for GBPs. He had a big game last game. I mean, he can go off any single day, so he's always someone in consideration. Marcus Morris got ejected last game. On average, he's going to play low 30s minutes. Reggie, Batum are all going to see rotation minutes. I think Reggie would probably be my favorite of the bunch to take a shot on his minutes. Most of, like over the last 5 games, he's played 20 plus minutes in 4 of the last 5. So I think he's a viable tournament play. And finally, Golden State and Portland. This game looks pretty appealing. On the Golden State side, obviously Steph Curry's going to be out for a bit. I think Poole and Klay Thompson stand out as really good options. Poole 7-1, I think will be again one of the higher owned plays of the slate. He should be about an 8 to 8.5K player without Steph Curry. So I still really like Poole. I think Klay Thompson's a good play. Obviously, he's going to get more shots up. He went for a 50 bomb last game. Draymond Green, role doesn't really change, but he's pretty safe. Should see low 30s minutes. Andrew Wiggins is 6K. He'll most likely see around 30 minutes. I think he's a fair option. And Steve Kerr just flat out lied. Like, he's just the biggest troll. He said, going forward, Kevon Looney's going to be in the starting lineup. Starts Kuminga. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, what do you have to benefit from just flat out lying, bro? Like, Steve Kerr, you're a loser. You're a loser. I hate Steve Kerr so much. Like, what's the benefit? What is the benefit of saying Kevon Looney's going to start going forward? That's just a flat out lie, because literally the very next game starts Kuminga. I just don't understand. I don't understand what he has to benefit to lie. He's the worst, man. He is the worst. So whoever starts with Looney or Kuminga, I think is a decent value. DiVincenzo is going to see probably mid-20s minutes off the bench, just kind of a secondary last piece in guy. I'll mention Ty Jerome at 3-4. I think he's going to play 15 to 20 minutes. Close to the min price. Yeah, he's playable. And then finally, Portland. Like the spot here for Portland. Dame, wouldn't call him a priority, but I do like his upside in GPPs. The price point's not amazing at almost 11K, but you can get like that 60 bomb any single night from Dame. Simons, Grant, and Hart are all just kind of priced right to me. I think my favorite probably would be Hart since he's the cheapest, but if you want to go to Simons, you want to go to Grant, that's totally fine. Watford and Eubanks, they're going to split the center position. I'm going to prefer whoever is the lower owned option of the two. So both are reasonable values. Not much else here. I mean, I guess you have the Gary Payton revenge spot, but he's kind of not been great for this team. I think he plays mid-teens minutes. Shaedon Sharpe will see some minutes off the bench, but there's no one off the bench I really feel good about for Portland. So that is going to do it for the video, guys. Really do appreciate all the support. Can't thank you guys enough, really. I love reading the comments section every single day. So, yeah, if you guys do enjoy it, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll see you all in the next video. And keep an eye out for the Prize Picks video. Should be up in the next few hours.